Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the ship manufactured by Aegis Dynamics. I am of course referring to the mighty Retaliator. Now this is my second video on the Retaliator, so if you wish to know a bit more about the lore behind this ship, I'll put a link in the description and I'll put a card on the screen now. Today the scope of this video is the tally's been brought up to gold standard and has had modules added, the first ship we have in game with the ability to swap in modules, which is really cool. So the Retaliator now has the ability to become even more deadly and or versatile and or utilitarian depending on your particular needs. Now it is a fantastic looking ship. I've always been fond of it. It's been through what I would say some moderate changes, including the modules of course, but this ship was, at the time of my first video, pretty frustrating to fly. There were numerous bugs. The cockpit seat would kill you immediately or you'd get stuck in it, and getting ejected into space while you were QT travelling was always a fun one. So there were issues with the ship, but now it's much more polished, and we're going to try and do a bit of before and after in this video so we can see some of the changes that have been implemented. It's quite difficult to remember how the ship used to look interior wise and externally. Luckily I can use my previous video as a reference. So the ship itself I think looks fantastic, and the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice straight away that the biggest change exterior wise is the turrets have changed in shape and size, which is more sort of in line. They're like mini Redeemer turrets now, which makes sense because that's the same manufacturer, right? So Tally 2.0, let's start with externally. So as previously mentioned, the turrets have changed in size and shape, and they are due a future upgrade so that they will carry all size 3 weapons, so the firepower has been increased. Now, the paint scheme that you can see me running on this ship is amazing. I think the Retaliator looks like a hornet now, in the insect, not the spaceship itself that's in game, or a wasp even. Really love the yellow paint on the Retaliator. I think it looks absolutely marvelous. There's no jump out massive changes externally that I've noticed from the previous build of this ship. Like I said, the only thing that jumps out to me that's prominent is the shape of the turrets, and if you look at the Redeemer's turrets, same design, but these are just smaller. So plenty of turrets is after all a gunship forward stroke bomber, and now it's a gunship forward stroke bomber cargo runner all at the same time. So versatility has definitely been improved with the latest edition of the modules, which is pretty cool in my opinion. I like the look of this ship. I'm glad they haven't tinkered with it too much. It does look pretty venomous in some aspects. The swing web, everywhere you look there's steep aggressive angles on the ship, very prominent lines, and it looks menacing. Okay, I've always enjoyed the Retaliator. I just did not enjoy the bugs that came with it. Unfortunately, in Tally 2.0, there are still numerous bugs that continue to plague this ship. They will get ironed out, and it's more to do with getting the modules to work is a little bit of a headache. There's a lot of faffing around, claiming the ship, selecting the module, reclaiming the ship, or if you want to change the torpedoes, fire them all off, insert the new ones, then reclaim it. It's a lot to be desired. A lot of work needs to come in and fix these bugs, but bugs aside, we're all accustomed to them. Overall, the direction of the ship I feel is taking a bit of a better turn than the previous model of the Retaliator. So aesthetically, I think it still looks absolutely fantastic, especially with the yellow paint. It really brings out that menacing look that the ship is able to portray. We know that the size 9 torpedoes absolutely shred everything. Torpedoes have recently been through some bizarre changes. but they will be rectified so they go at the correct speeds. I mean, at some point they were travelling slower than the ship itself it was fired from, so that was interesting. The cockpit, definitely an improvement. One, it doesn't try to kill you anymore. It's a bit lighter, the lighting is better in here. The MFDs are solid, and it does carry over that design language flavour from the Sabres, those fighters. I think the Sabre, not the Comet, the very basic Sabre without the missiles, not the Sabre Raven Firebird, Storm Raven Bird Sabre Fire. The standard Sabre has an excellent cockpit, and now the Retaliator has a very nice cockpit. Really like the MFDs in here. Visibility is still pretty much the same, but overall I would say that the cockpit is a huge improvement compared to our previous model of Retaliator. Everything's really well situated in the cockpit. Actually, everything's not in your face but easy to read, and I like the fact that they're not digital MFDs. I'm starting to waver from that side of the MFD depending on the manufacturer. As previously mentioned then, a closer look at the turret, you will see very, very much a Redeemer turret shrunk down to carry the appropriate weapon platform. Size 3s will be implemented in the next patch, I believe. So this ship will be packing some serious firepower for you and your crew, if that's how you choose to run it. You can, of course, solo this ship quite easily because the torpedoes do a lot of work, but a fully crewed Retaliator is certainly going to pose a threat to anyone silly enough to get in its way. Okay, let's take a look at the new modules then that have been implemented for this ship. So here we have a cargo module. Each module carries 36 SCU, so a total of 72. If you wanted to turn this into a cargo runner, then you've got a very strong cargo running ship with a lot of firepower. I like it in here. It's actually fairly clean. Now, I did have some issues operating the lift. It's very sort of jumpy and jaggedy, and it could be server performance or it could be a bug, so jury's out on that. Then we move on to the personnel module, and at first I was like, well, I don't really see the point, but then I had a brainstorm moment and realised that where the glass is, wouldn't this be an excellent prison container? And I do believe we are going to be able to move bounty hunting pods around. Having this ship as a make-do prison, I think would be brilliant, because I could see guards patrolling through these windows and looking in and making sure your bounties aren't up to any mischief. So potential for a heavily armed prisoner ship, so that's pretty cool. Right, let's move on to a part of the video that's going to be a little bit tricky, but I decided I wanted to do it as a sort of refresher. So we're going to look at the old variant of ship, okay, let's say Tally 1.0, and then we're going to try and compare it to Tally 2.0, just to get a bit of a better look at some of the changes that have been implemented with the ship. So first impressions on the old one, you can see it's quite dark, which was my initial complaint. It doesn't need to be that dark. Submarine or not, it does not need to be that dark. The new corridors, there are no components just out hanging. They do have their correct component bays, which is a nice touch. I think that needed to be tidied up, and they've done that. Here we have like the old engineering station, and that gets swapped out for this, and as you can see, a bit more ambient light wise, a bit softer on the eyes, but they have added an actual engineering computer there, let's say that, which has no function yet, so we'll wait and see what happens with that. Then we have midsection of the ship here, your two entry points. We have the two elevators left and right. Again, very dark. We have two docking collars below and above, and then two more entry points. Now the ship is designed in a figure of eight sort of shape, so they branch around to the various modules. But as you can see, fairly dark, fairly dingy, not a lot going on, but the shape they've managed to keep, and wasn't a fan of how dark the ship was. Next up then is the new variant. So we lose an elevator, and we'll note the docking ports bottom and top have gone, and the elevator on the right has been swapped for an actual functioning docking port, which is just better, much brighter. That's an improvement in my book. Next up, we have the old torpedo bay. Not really too bothered about how that looked at the time. I think you know, how many times are you going to be spent looking in there unless you're actually rearming the ship? But they have altered it slightly, and that comes courtesy of some better lighting in here for sure. Very clean looking compared to the old one, and on the ceiling you'll note there's some extra red lights, but the clamps seem a bit more poignant in this particular update for the ship. A bit more clear, clarified, nice and clean torpedo bay, nice module, if you can get it to work. Then we have the old exterior that sort of flanks the torpedo bay of the Tally 1.0. Not a lot of changes. I mean, it is basically a corridor. The thing to take away would be lack of light, and in the new variant, slightly brighter. I think the floor's been changed. The corridor flooring looks different. So traversing the ship, I think, is important. I think being able to see where you're going is a big part of that. Whether or not it's supposed to be a submarine, I couldn't care less. I want to see where I'm going. The old cockpit, the death trap, where all your dreams came to die. So, yeah, I've got some fond memories of bugs every time I see the old cockpit of the Tally 1.0. Yeah, good times. And then, of course, the newer version, much more polished. Detail-wise, I think they've hit the nail in the head pretty hard, because it does look better, a lot better than the old variant. Captain's quarters, old. I'm still in two minds of, does this ship really need one? Possibly. Not really a lot has changed in here. Again, just lighting from what I could see. So I don't think they've really touched it. I'm not entirely sure a ship of this nature would possibly need a captain's quarter. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice to have your own personal space. Of course it is. I just... could it be used for something else? I just don't know. So those are some of the changes. I didn't record the bathroom area. It looked the same, just with brighter lights. And then we have the old bunk beds, which has not changed at all. It is still very, very dark, and you're going to sleep well in here, but slight changes in detailing, especially at that back wall, I think is where the predominant change for this particular area was. I might have missed something there, I most likely have. So those are some of the changes that I could fathom from previous footage. What we need to do now is, of course, look at the weapons and components. Okay, so here we are for Tally 2.0. So, let's take a look at this monster, shall we? As you can see, it is quite literally dripping in turrets. Now, you'll note that some of them do have size 3s on, which isn't really a problem, to be honest. And you'll note that some have badges which are size 2s. Now, the next patch, these will all be size 3, so that will significantly boost its firepower potential. This thing, when it's manned, is going to be pretty lethal, to be quite honest with you. And we have the modules down here, and we can swap those out. But just keep an eye on the components, because I think this ship is going to be very interesting. As you can see here, 6 shields. We have 6 size 2 shields on Tally 2.0 right now. That is a lot of shieldage. So that's why I'm saying keep an eye on what changes with this ship, because although it's gold, I'm sure this can't be its final pass. I think things might change. So we have 2 power plants, which are Maelstroms, 2 coolers, which are the Arctics, and a crossfield stock QT drive, which is a good drive. Fairly speedy and fairly decent range. So those are the components you're going to find on the Tally, apart from the guns being upgraded. Now, of course, we can change the torpedoes. The stock ones are the Argos, which do, you know, quite a ridiculous amount of damage in themselves. But I personally, you probably want to swap those for the Seekers. As I said, changing the torps is a whole contract mission in itself. There's a lot of faffing around to get it done. That's part of the bugs of the ship that need to be ironed out. There's a lot of, let's say, external polish that needs to be applied to get this ship to use its full potential. Because it can be frustrating. Simply just swapping components and cargo modules and things of that nature is very, very time consuming, and also quite unfortunate that it's got to that point, but it is what it is. So a lot to look forward to with the ship. A lot of fixes need to come, absolutely. Is it at its 100%? No, but is it taking a step in the right direction? Yeah, I believe so. I think it will get there. I don't by any means think it's finished, but I do think it will get there. Right, let's then begin our walk around of Tally 2.0, and this will allow us to get a better feel for this ship. New turrets, new paint, new vibes. So as you can see, we have plenty of landing gear, and it's obviously in its landing configuration. It still keeps its VTOL, so the engines are pointing skywards, which is nice. We have the elevator down already because we've lost one compared to Tally 1.0. But isn't that yellow paint just glorious? I think that's what drew me to the Ironclad Assault. You know, yellow works well with some of these ships, I'm telling you. So plenty of engines which put out modicum of thrust. Let's say it doesn't particularly hang around for a ship of its size. The handling has been improved. Again, it's very hard to remember from memory to new. My consensus was the ship handles more like a Constellation now rather than a Cadillac without any wheels. Very hard to describe, but if you were a previous owner, now you have it now, I'm sure you'll be aware of the differences because it's very hard from memory to put those together. Engines at the back look awesome, and then we have these long tail fins that stretch out through the ship that really give it that unique signature, that sort of sense of foreboding doom. Just the silhouette of this ship, and look at this game, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Sometimes you just look at this game and go, do you know what? I like the bugs too. I like them. They bring the game character. Well, at least that's how I look at it. So, as you can see, it's still a large ship, and it has the ability now to fire torpedoes, carry cargo, and the personnel module. My preference was torpedoes at the front, cargo in the back, so you could do bounty hunting, bunker busting, you know, drop the cargo elevator and zip around on your Mirai Fury. I thought it's very cool. I just want it to work well with the modules, that you really do have that flexibility, because that's the appeal of modules, right? It's the ability to outfit a ship for one role, and then you do that and you're like, right, okay, now I need to do such and such, and you can just swap between without having to go get another ship or claim another ship or fight in another ship. You can do it all in the Retaliator. Tally 2.0, that's the direction they've taken with it. I hope it gets there, because the potential for this ship is obviously very, very great. It's going to be very useful. So let's now hop in to the Tally. And up we go. Okay, so we are greeted immediately midsection of the ship. Okay, as we enter midship of the Retaliator, huge improvement, docking collar just there, and again, I just wish they'd cover that component. There's no need for it to just be sat there. It just doesn't sit right. They've covered all the others up. That one is yet to have its own component bay with a folding door. Let's get that fixed, please. Then we get down into, I hope that's not supposed to be like that. Anyway, back into the corridors, we have light switches, and we have this wonderful ambient blue for when you need to chillax out. And then when you get to a point where you're shitting yourself, you have this amazing, oh, that's just so cool. Now, it's stuff like this that it's sci-fi, right? You see it in all the films. It's amazing. I love that. I'm quite happy to just have that on all the time because it looks really atmospheric and really cool. Make our way into the new and improved engineering station then. So we have a control console here. Does nothing. So that is going to have to do something at some point. You'll also note fuses are now implemented. Get used to changing these for your components and engineering side of the ship. They have no value as of yet, but they will do, and you can grab these out, and it does have its own really cool animation, except for you can put your fist through the metal sheet. Well, I can at least, because I'm really, really strong. So very cool. We're getting there. The game is getting there. It's going through some teething problems. Of course there's going to be, but we are starting to see the light. So here we have just the other cargo module. Fairly standard stuff, really. Not a lot to talk about. It's just an empty space. and then we'll go through towards the back of the ship. So components are now housed correctly, and it's a massive clean improvement to them just sat on a shelf, you know, pretending, role-playing that they're doing something. Now they actually are. So there is a component missing there. If I had to guess, jump drive, more than likely. Fire extinguisher without a fire extinguisher. And here we have a medical cabinet, I think. Another fuse box. And then we have a turret. Now, I'm not going to get in every single turret because this video would take forever because the ship's got plenty of them. More components here. Cooler. Stored away nicely. So, the ship has improved. We will get in this bottom turret towards the end of the video, I think. Another component. And then it's the same for the adjacent corridor. So the lighting and the layout is pretty much the same. Another fuse, another turret, and I don't know what goes there. If I'm being brutally honest, I have no idea. Can't be, jump drive again? Question mark? I don't know. We do have storage, so you can put valuables in your ship. Obviously, that's quite important. Let's get rid of that. Thank you. No, go away. Thank you. And flushing this again are all the other components. There's a little horrible minor bug there. See, these are the little details that really can break the immersion of the game. Is just those little glitches. It's just, it works, but not how it should. Now, I think this is server blade potential here, the way they're shaped, A1 and A2. That's the engineering station again. Some cool fans going. So we've done a loop of that area of the ship. Now we need to make our way through the other corridors, which is through here. So we'll go take a look at the new torpedo module. Very nice, very clean, very bright. An improvement, yes, but arguably not one that was a massive need, right? You don't really need to look in there unless you're working on the torpedoes, which you probably, I mean, they are large. Look at them. Take up a whole corridor. Some more intricate circuitry here. Another fuse box. That brings us to the cockpit with our beautiful, beautiful planet view out there. And we'll double back round because this brings us to the captain's quarters, who has his little TV monitor thing here. Same bed, same design, not a lot changed. No idea what that's for. That could be personal storage, perhaps. Very tight. But you're only in there to sleep and watch a little bit of MFD TV. Another light switch by the door, which again I will be abusing because it's cool. Then the cockpit. Now we need to go to the top deck, quote unquote living area. It's more of a sort of sleeping area. Turret. Weapon racks. So you can store weapons here. Plenty of weapons, in fact. And then the bunk system at the back here, which again is had a few changes. There's 6 beds back here, I believe. Very, very cramped. I'd hate to be the guy sleeping on that bottom one at the back. I would hate that. Especially if you suffer from claustrophobia. That is not going to be a comfortable time. But it's a military ship. It's not designed for comfort. Let's go back down the ladder then. Look at that view. This game, honestly, when it's working, it's awesome. Right, now we need to go all the way back round because I want to show you the bathroom area, which I forgot to do. Been a while since I've been in Tally. So it's this door here towards the front of the ship. Light switches and a much brighter, user-friendly, easy to use toilet shower combo. Well, it's not really a combo. You do get a dedicated shower in this ship, so it's not a toilet. Just hope that door locks, really, and that no one's coming to get their suits or whatever from those lockers. Apart from that, yeah, so that's the basic layout. It's a much cleaner looking ship, I will give them that. There's just the odd clip-in bug or random glitch or things like that just make all their hard work undone. You know, it kind of I mean, I know it will get fixed because that's what the issue council's for. It's just going to take some time, which is something I'm used to. So let's hop in the seat of the cockpit. That won't kill me for once. And here we are. So not only are we greeted by that beautiful view, MFDs are perfect. Visibility is still pretty much the same. It's not really a ship that you're dogfighting in, right? But we have good forward visibility. The side views are quite constricted, but you can sort of, it's not that bad. Cockpit itself, we use a HOTAS system and we have the various MFDs, but they're solid. They're really well built. No clipping issues. Fairly easy to read. Everything's in reach. It feels like the MFDs are sort of hugging you, which I feel is important for any sort of ship role. So overall, I think the ship has taken a better direction. It's getting there, but by no means is it finished. We have to wait for some upgrades. We're going to have to wait for some fixes, but I think the ship has certainly got some potential. I'm fairly happy with it. I think it's a great addition to someone's fleet and a great addition to an AUEC fleet. The ship is going to get used more. As you can see, we have plenty of buttons here. Everything you could possibly want. So, Tally 2.0, it does get a thumbs up from me. I'm happy with it. There are some issues, but, you know, hey-ho, that's Star Citizen. So there we go, guys. That's my video on Tally 2.0. A big shout out, of course, to all of my channel members. You are truly appreciated. And guys, if you enjoyed today's video, you know what buttons to press, and I will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Cheers.